Next on PIJN News, Dr. Chaps reports on these important issues.
California legislators have just passed 11 gun-grabbing laws that may violate citizens' Second Amendment rights. We interview Larry Pratt with Gun Owners of America.
Former Navy chaplain Gordon James Klingenschmitt took a stand to defend religious freedom by daring to pray publicly in Jesus' name. Now he helps you by reporting the news, discerning the spirits, and praying the scriptures. Would you pray with us? Here's Dr. Chaps.
God bless you in Jesus' name. My name is Chaplain Gordon James Klingenschmitt, Dr. Chaps, and you're watching PIJN News. Today we have a celebrity newsmaking interview with a returning guest to our program, a good conservative gun enthusiast who wants to defend your constitutional rights, including your Second Amendment rights, Larry Pratt with Gun Owners of America. Welcome back to the program, sir.
Good to be back. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As we hope for a good Skype connection here, and you lead one of the most conservative gun organizations in America. Gunowners.org is your website. Now, we just heard, actually we'll start with the good news. Out of Washington, D.C., there was a ruling by a federal judge, Richard Leon, who found that the D.C. law against concealed carry is unconstitutional. He reaffirmed the Heller case to say that if people are allowed to carry handguns, then they should also be allowed to concealed carry those handguns. What is your opinion on this ruling by a federal judge?
The judge's decision in the D.C. case was good news. D.C. had been told earlier that their ban on guns, when it came up for review, came to be known as the Heller decision, was unconstitutional. You can't just ban guns. So D.C. said, okay, we'll just make it virtually impossible to get a permit, and we'll see how you like that. And after putting in their new law, you have to now show that you have good cause. In other words, Jesse James may be pursuing you, Jack the Ripper may have made an attack on you. Something of that sort might get you a concealed carry permit in the District of Columbia, and the judge said, no dice. People that are not legally unable should be given a permit automatically. And so they're back to the drawing board. I'm sure the district is clever enough to figure out some other way around the judge's order, but it looks like the judges and the Constitution, they're running out of clever escapes from the right of the people to keep and bear arms, which shall not be infringed.
So that's good news for people who want to get concealed carry weapons permits in our nation's capital, in Washington, D.C., where, honestly, it's one of the most liberal, if it was a state, it'd be one of the most liberal states in America. But out in California, they are exceeding the liberalism by far. The legislature there has passed 11 bad gun-grabbing laws this past section. Only one of those was endorsed by Republicans. The other 10 were pushed through by majority Democrat votes, and Republicans there complained that these are unconstitutional laws and may violate people's Second Amendment rights. Before I get into listing of some of those 10 bills, do you have any observations on which states are gun-friendly, and where would you put California on that list?
Well, the most gun-friendly state for the longest time has been state of Vermont, where for almost 100 years, one has not needed a permit to carry a concealed firearm. Just by contrast, in California, we could almost double dog dare you to get a permit. A few people do, but it's very difficult. States now, there are 13 that have laws like Vermont's, where you have the ability to carry a gun without a permit. We call that constitutional carry. And happily, it seems to be a movement that's growing. And we are hoping that the actual 13th state will put it in final form very soon. At worst, it has to go through an override in that state, but otherwise we're really making some very good progress, and it's very encouraging that gun ownership seems to be more and more accepted by politicians. First, they got used to people carrying a concealed firearm with a permit, and now there, as I say, are now 13 states just about where you don't even need a permit, and surprise, there are no negative consequences to that, except maybe the shame of some anti-gunners who predicted there would be all kinds of mayhem resulting from people carrying a gun.
That's right. And this is happening in red states like Kansas and blue states like Maine. They are following Vermont's example. We live here in Colorado, where our legislature failed to pass constitutional carry law, but we're going to keep trying here in Colorado. And I think I heard you say California ranks near the bottom of states when they, protect people's gun rights. Let's list some of the bad California laws that just passed. Now, I'm not sure if any or all of these have been signed by Governor Brown, the California governor, but the legislature did pass one requiring background checks before Californians can buy ammunition. What do you think about that?
Well, that'll be as successful in fighting crime as the background check required to buy a gun. The federal data tell us that the background check, which there has been required for purchases at stores, and in California, guns can only be transacted through a dealer, in other words, a store. Those background checks have been associated with 14 prosecutions out of some 18 million background checks that were run at the federal level, not by states. We don't have that data. But it gives you a pretty good idea because the background checks that various states do is essentially duplicative of the federal. It might have a few more categories for disqualification, but it's not something that's going to significantly change the way the system operates, and that is to say almost nobody gets turned down because of a prosecution that results. There's some 14 prosecutions out of 18 million in the last year of record of federal data. Certainly not something you can say is an important crime-fighting tool.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll ask Larry Pratt about the other 9 laws that were just passed in California.
This is PIJN News, defending your religious freedom. Dr. Chaps will be right back.
Do you care about defending the Constitution? Sign a petition today to defend your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Left-wing crazies go on these shooting sprees, but then the Democrats, like Joseph Biden, are using this as a pretext to take guns away from law-abiding citizens. Can you believe they literally want to publish the mental health records of military veterans so that they don't pass background checks so they can't exercise their rights when they come home? Senator Harry Reid, the leader, changed the filibuster rules. Why? So he could stack the courts with gun-grabbing judges. Here are 3 of President Obama's nominees. Pillard, Millett, and Wilkins couldn't get confirmed, but now they're on the court, and they're allowing the D.C. police to fingerprint all law-abiding gun owners? That's not right. Sign a petition today. Defend your Second Amendment rights. Visit prayinjesusname.org. Again, that's prayinjesusname.org. Do you care about defending the Second Amendment? Are the Democrats trying to seize your guns? Sign a petition today at prayinjesusname.org. Democrat Senator Dianne Feinstein actually believes that stickers on windows and gun-free zones are going to make your life saver. That's really not true. We also know that Congresswoman Diane DeGette has confused magazines with bullets and is trying to ban both of those with these stricter gun control laws. But the Colorado sheriffs believe this is unconstitutional. And not only that, it's unsafe. A recent Harvard study shows that more guns actually results in less murders and less violence. And look what happened in England. Violence there soared after they banned guns, but here in America, violence dropped by 30% with more gun buying. Why is the government the only ones allowed to have billions of rounds of ammunition? I think we should defend your constitutional rights. Sign a petition today at prayinjesusname.org. Again, that's prayinjesusname.org.
Empowering you, the grassroots activist. Here is Dr. Chaps.
God bless you in Jesus' name. I'm Dr. Chaps, and we're joined again by our returning friend and conservative constitutional activist, Larry Pratt with Gun Owners of America. Larry, talk about your organization and what's your website?
America is located at gunowners.org. We are very much an action organization, and much of the action is carried out by our members. They find out what's going on Capitol Hill because they went to gunowners.org, they signed up for the email alerts, and when they get them, they clearly respond, and members of Congress report, I would say sometimes complain, that our members are very active in putting the heat on. As Senator Dirksen used to be fond of saying when he was in the Senate from Illinois, when I feel the heat, I see the light. And that continues to be true even today as it was when Senator Dirksen spoke about it. So that's what Gun Owners of America is all about, is pushing the Second Amendment agenda, getting rid of anti-gun laws whenever possible so that we can return to the Second Amendment as it was supposed to be observed and respected by the government and, generally speaking, constitutional government.
Well, thank you again for your activism and for defending our constitutional rights. Another law that they passed in California has to do with banning the sale and manufacture of semi-automatic rifles that have detachable magazines. In other words, they want to, I guess, make the magazine permanently on the gun so it cannot be changed out very quickly. Well, what do you think about that ruling in California?
It's a ruling that is certainly not friendly to self-defense. California is a state where they've had a lot of trouble with gangbanging, and when people are under attack by multiple attackers, the idea that they're only going to need 7 rounds or 10 rounds is perhaps born out of what they see in the movies. They certainly haven't seen it at a gun range. I was out shooting this weekend, and I would love to be able to report that with 10 rounds in my magazine, I hit the target exactly where I wanted it each of those 10 times. It's just not the way the world works, and it's even more problematic when you're under stress, when you're being attacked. The idea that your 10 rounds are going to take down 10 bad guys, like at a shooting gallery, boom, 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 each one falling down as it's been hit, that's just not true. But then the folks that are making these laws don't care about self-defense. They really don't like self-defense. They know nothing about guns and what happens when people are involved in self-defense. But again, it doesn't really matter to them. They're interested in banning armed self-defense to the extent that they can, and that's really what we're talking about here.
Well, I think you're right. Another law that they passed is to limit the number of bullets you can have in a magazine to 10 rounds or fewer. Now, personally, I have a Springfield XD9, and it has 16 rounds in the magazine. Would that gun now be illegal in California? And what do you do if you have something that has 16 rounds?
As I understand the law, you could have that magazine, but you could only put 10 rounds in it. I suppose you could work around and put an 11th round in the chamber, but the idea is that you can only have 10 rounds in a magazine. So the magazine might be built for 10, it might be built for 20, but you can still only have 10 rounds if I've got the way they've actually written the law.
Well, does that make people safer when you have, let's say, all the citizens out there obeyed the law and they only had 10 rounds each? What are they in danger of?
Well, it's certainly going to make criminals safer. Criminals won't have to worry about people having an adequate firepower, and if a victim is attacked by a gang, and we very often read of home invasions by more than one person, 2 and 3 and 4 people attacking. The idea that you only need, quote unquote, 10 rounds to defend yourself and your family, that's wicked. That is telling somebody, we don't really care what happens to you after that 10th round. That's too bad. You're bad.
Well, and one of the California Republicans, Jim Nielsen of Gerber, California, state senator, he agreed with you when he said this: the criminals will not be affected because they will not pay attention to any of these bills. These bills disarm the law-abiding public and make them less safe. Senator Ted Gaines said this is an assault on our Second Amendment rights. Have other states or other court cases you're aware of struck down these so-called bullet bans or magazine limits?
Well, there's, I think, an encouraging trend. I'm not sure of magazine limits that have been before other courts, but the idea that guns can be banned, that a number of these restrictions are okay, is a concept that seems to be slowly falling. Not to mention the fact that there are a lot of state legislatures that are just saying, we're not going to have any more of this. And they're making it easier for people to buy guns, to have guns. We may end up with two Americas, one in which it's fairly simple and easy and legal to defend oneself, and the other America where the only people that really have adequate firepower are the criminals, and everybody else lives in fear.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to get through at least 5 of these bad 11 laws passed by California limiting people's Second Amendment rights. We'll be back with Larry Pratt after this.
Giving you a megaphone in Washington, D.C. Dr. Chaps will be right back.
Introducing FaxCongress.com. Do you care about politics, defending pro-life causes, traditional marriage, and religious freedom? At FaxCongress.com, you can create any petition to Congress, and we will convert your e-petition instantly to real fax paper on your congressman's desk. And the best part? It's free. Want your voice heard by multiple congressmen? At FaxCongress.com, we can blast your petition to all 535 congressmen and senators instantly. And you don't even need a fax machine. Not only do we deliver your petitions instantly, but with our dashboard feature, you can quickly recruit friends on Facebook and Twitter to co-sign your petition. Do you care about a particular cause? You can build a virtual army of supporters at FaxCongress.com. Do you lead a church, faith-based organization, or PAC? We can even help you do fundraising. It's free. Just visit FaxCongress.com and try it out. Make a difference. Sign any petition today at FaxCongress.com. FaxCongress.com.
Do you care about defending the Constitution? Sign a petition today to defend your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. You know, left-wing crazies go on these shooting sprees, but then the Democrats, like Joseph Biden, are using this as a pretext to take guns away from law-abiding citizens. Can you believe they literally want to publish the mental health records of military veterans so that they don't pass background checks so they can't exercise their rights when they come home? Senator Harry Reid, the leader, changed the filibuster rules. Why? So he could stack the courts with gun-grabbing judges. Here are 3 of President Obama's nominees. Pillard, Millett, and Wilkins couldn't get confirmed, but now they're on the court, and they're allowing the D.C. police to fingerprint all law-abiding gun owners? That's not right. Sign a petition today. Defend your Second Amendment rights. Visit PrayInJesusName.org. Again, that's PrayInJesusName.org.
He is the intersection of church and state. Here is Dr. Chaps.
Welcome back. I'm Dr. Chaps. We're joined again by Larry Pratt. Gunowners.org is his website, Gun Owners of America. Sign up for their email alerts because you can become an activist when they send you news. So Larry, I want to ask about a few more of these California gun-grabbing laws. One of them mandates that if you are making a homemade gun, maybe you're a metalsmith or a hobbyist, you must put a serial number on every gun that you make, or else, and you also must undergo a background check to do that. What are your thoughts?
Well, the state of California is requiring something that federal law does not require. Federal law right now says that if you make a gun for yourself, a one-off, you're not making 5 of the same gun or 10 or whatever. You're just making that one gun. You don't sell it to anybody. You don't trade it to anybody. You keep it to yourself. That's perfectly all right. And you don't need a serial number on that because it's not going anywhere. California has now, as you say, require that you put a serial number on there and presumably have to record that with the state of California. It's a form of gun registration.
So gun registration was tried in Canada, for example, and didn't Canada actually reverse that and found out that registering guns was a failure?
Failure. They had added long guns to their registration scheme, and it was such a mess that the computers were getting hacked, the records were not accurate, and so the Parliament actually undid what they had done not that long before. It was one of the few times that I can remember that on a hot-button issue, a conservative party actually followed through on a campaign promise because the Conservatives of Canada had campaigned on getting rid of the long gun registration that had been put into place not long before, and they actually did it once they were in power. I was very pleasantly surprised.
So another law they just passed in California is that you cannot lend a gun to anybody but an immediate family member. So even if it's like a grandfather or, heaven forbid, your hunting buddy, cannot borrow your gun to go out to the range or to the woods.
In fact, had that law been the case where I was shooting this weekend, I would have broken the law. I had lent a number of firearms to people who said, hey, I'd like to fire that gun. Hey, I'd like to be able to shoot that gun. And so people were firing a number of guns that I had, and that would have been illegal under the California law. Now, I wasn't exactly looking to get rid of my guns and to give them away. I wasn't selling them, which would have been legal, I think. Of course, in California, we'd have to go to a store and have it all registered by the state and by the federal government for each sale that we transact. But that requirement would have meant that I was breaking the law had it been the law in Virginia.
Another two of the California laws have to do with the theft of guns. One of them says if you have a gun stolen, you must immediately call the police within 5 days, or you, the victim of the theft, now become the criminal. What do you think about that?
The law is not very tightly worded, and so it doesn't say that the theft has to be recorded from the time of theft. If they did, it might raise the obvious question, well, how does the guy who's away on a cruise for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, how does he know that a gun was stolen, when it was stolen, and how long ago it was stolen? All of this is a big mystery to the victim, and now, as you pointed out, he becomes a criminal based on obvious ignorance that he could not have that information, and yet he's going to be required to have that information. Again, I think California is looking for various ways that they can make it so impossible for people to legally own guns that they're going to say, forget it, I'm getting rid of them, and that's where they would like to end up, as a society where the law-abiding own no guns. Of course, they're apparently perfectly okay with there being a monopoly in the hands of the criminals, and of course the police too.
Another law they passed in California said that if a gun is valued at less than $950, that theft of that small value firearm is now a felony instead of a misdemeanor. The voters of California actually wanted it to be a misdemeanor, but now the legislators are smarter than the voters, they think, and so they made it into a felony. Should it be a bigger or smaller sentence?
Isn't it interesting that the state has a plebiscite system, but when it ends up with a result contrary to what the liberal overlords want. They just disregard what the people have clearly said when the people made law. Now, you would think that by the logic of the referendum, that when the people speak, that's the ultimate. It's not just a representative in the legislature that's making a law, it's the people themselves en masse. And yet that's not good enough for these supposed Democrats who really like the idea of majority rule. Pooey.
Okay, and one last one. They gave a lot of funding to a new Violence Prevention Research Center, which is going to study what future gun control laws ought to look like. Who do you think is going to be manning the station during these research studies?
Given to the nonprofit arm, the legal defense arm, the research arm of Gun Owners of America, which is our foundation, Gun Owners Foundation. But, they'd probably say that that's biased. They're going to give it to a bunch of anti-gun academics, and that won't be biased, don't you see?
Well, I bet you would be willing to, or some of your people with Gun Owners of California would be willing to sit on those studies and suggest less restrictive policies in the future. But I suspect you're right. It's going to be the liberal academics who are going to be suggesting more restrictive gun policies in the future, and they're using your taxpayer dollars to come up with these bad legislative ideas. So we have just 30 seconds left. Anything you want to say, and mention your website again?
Love to have people check us out. Go to gunowners.org. That's where you can sign up for these action alerts. Really makes a difference here in Washington. So we strongly encourage you to take advantage of it. It's free.
Thank you so much. Our guest has been Larry Pratt. Our website is prayinjesusname.org, or you can call us toll-free at 866-OBEY-GOD. Again, that's 866-OBEY-GOD. If you need prayer today, call us, and please donate if you can. God bless you in Jesus' name. We'll see you next time.
Chaplain Klingenschmitt is a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy who earned his Ph.D. in theology from Regent University. As a former Navy chaplain, by taking a public stand for freedom of speech and religious expression, and by sacrificing his own 16-year career and $1 million pension, he was vindicated by the U.S. Congress, who changed the law and restored freedom for military chaplains to pray in Jesus' name. Dr. Chaps not only defended the Constitution, but his petitions have helped change the law in 10 states, restoring freedom to pray in Jesus' name. Dr. Chaps needs your financial support to stay on the air. Would you please send your best donation today? Please visit prayinjesusname.org to donate online. Or you can mail a check to Pray in Jesus Name Ministries, Post Office Box 77077, Colorado Springs, Colorado 80970. You can also call us toll-free right now at 866-OBEY-GOD. That's 866-OBEY-GOD. Please sign up for our free emails at prayinjesusname.org. Again, that's prayinjesusname.org.